With the 1967 conquest of the remaining 22% of Palestine, it appeared that the fate of the Palestinians was sealed. This was certainly what Israel thought. But in reality, the 1967 Six-Day War led to a dramatic revival of the Palestinian movement. The defeat suffered by the Egyptian and Syrian armies was indeed a bad loss. It weakened the radical nationalist forces in favor of a more peaceful ones in both countries. This had a profound effect on the people in the Middle East. A revolutionary vibe swept across the entirety of Middle East. Palestinian groups such as the Palestine National Liberation Movement or the Fatah Party, which was led by Yasser Arafat, and the Arab National Movement led by George Habash came into being. They placed their hopes for the restoration of the lost lands with the help of the President of Egypt, Gamal Abdel Nasser, and the other Arab leaders. Many had believed that Arab armies would liberate Palestine, but the outcome of the 1967 Six-Day War brought that hope to a close. But out of the ashes of the defeat arose an independent Palestinian revolutionary movement that transformed the region's politics. In both West Bank and Gaza, the brutal Israeli occupation met with armed resistance, beginning with actions by Fatah in August 1967. In December 1967, the Palestinian wing of the Arab National Movement, together with a number of smaller organizations, formed the PFLP, or the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. This party was ideologically driven by Marxism. A number of other organizations came as well. The Arab League established the PLO, or the Palestine Liberation Organization, in 1964 with an appointed leader named Ahmed Shukeri. Shukeri was soon fired for making anti-Semitic and misleading statements. In 1968, the PLO re-emerged as an independent entity and began a multifaceted struggle against Israel. Over the following years, the PLO and its constituent organizations like Fatah, PFLP and the DFLP, which is the Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine, and other organizations formed an armed resistance. The Battle of Karameh in Jordan on March 21, 1968 had a major impact on the resistance. Approximately 200 Palestinian fighters fought off a far larger and more powerful Israeli force equipped with tanks and planes. The effect of the Battle of Karameh was electrifying, especially in contrast to the devastating defeat suffered by Arab states 9 months earlier. The Palestinian resistance presence in Jordan grew exponentially and threatened the regime of King Hussein. Jordan's defeat in 1967 Six-Day War meant that it lost control of East Jerusalem and the entirety of West Bank. So the rapidly growing power of the Palestinian movement led Hussein to offer Yasser Arafat the position of Prime Minister in 1970. This was an obvious attempt to calm down the resistance. Arafat declined the offer. In the same year, heavy fighting broke out between Jordan and the Palestinians. The PFLP was attempting to seize power. The Palestinian refugee camps were bombed by King Hussein. Syria, which was then governed by the left wing of the Arab Baath Socialist Party led by Salah Jadid, sent tanks across the border to support Jordan. In the end, the Jordanian military prevailed, massacring more than 15,000 PLO fighters and civilians in what came to be known as Black September. After the defeat in Jordan, the center of the Palestinian resistance shifted to Lebanon, where hundreds and thousands of Palestinians live in refugee camps. Out of all the wars that Israel has waged, the only one that they did not initiate took place in October 1973. This war also came close to becoming a nuclear conflict. On October 6, 1973, Egypt and Syria attacked, seeking to regain the territory they had lost in 1967. In the first days of the war, the Arab forces inflicted heavy casualties on Israel and made territorial gains. On October 8, Israeli Prime Minister Golda Meir ordered 13 atomic bombs to be fitted on missiles aimed at targeted towards Egypt and Syria. During the 3 weeks that lasted, the US government sent more than 55,000 tons of weapon and ammunition to Israel. The Israeli military soon regained momentum and recaptured all of the Sinai Peninsula and Golan Heights, and then drove further into Syria. On October 22nd, the UN Security Council passed Resolution 338 calling for a ceasefire. The Israeli army violated the agreement the next day itself. It surrounded the Egyptian army, cutting it off from food, water and ammunition. The early victories of the Arab armies showed that the Israeli military was not invincible. The war raised the stature of Al-Assad government in Syria and the Anwar Sadat government in Egypt. Sadat was the new president of Egypt after Nasser's death in September 1970. Two developments in the wake of the 1973 Arab-Israeli war greatly helped the Palestinian cause. In October 1974, the Arab Summit Conference meeting, which was held in Morocco, voted to recognize PLO as the sole legitimate representative of the Palestinian people. The following month, PLO chairman Yasser Arafat became the first representative of the organization to address the UN General Assembly. Arafat gave one of the most noted speeches in the history of the United Nations on November 13, 1974. His speech was greeted with great enthusiasm. The General Assembly voted to recognize the Palestinian people's right to self-determination and to grant the PLO observer status at the United Nations. Following the diplomatic discourse, the United Nations passed a series of resolutions reaffirming the right of Palestinians to return to their homes, to recover occupied East Jerusalem, to eliminate illegal Israeli settlements, to gain freedom from occupation, and to struggle by all means necessary, including military resistance, to secure their rights. Gaining recognized legitimacy on the world stage was a major victory for the Palestinian resistance movement.